Welcome everybody. First and foremost, I must introduce myself to anybody watching this. I am Jacob John. For all of my life, I have been very invested in exposing the true colors of certain individuals, and for this reason, I must share this narration of events with you all. Before I start, a few aspects must be clear. I am not lying about any of this. Everything I will say is 100% based off of fully authentic eyewitness testimony. Second, I was not forced by anybody to make this, but I feel like it is my duty to warn everyone about this extremely dangerous individual. Third, I am in great danger by simply mentioning the name of the individual, so please make sure to share this with everyone so proper action may be taken against him. It all begins in 2011, when a deformed, underweight child by the name of Tata Puius was born into a gypsy family. It is said that the cause of his birth might have been incest, but that is not confirmed yet. Throughout his early years, it has been reported that he was weirder than the average kid. He even got expelled out of kindergarten for eating from the toilet, then vomiting on his fellow classmates. How shameful. As he got into primary school, his behavior got worse and worse, and by the time he was 9 years of age, he got fined for taking pictures of poor drunk men on the street. However, this is not where it stops at all. During his teenage years, Tata Puius, peace be upon him, began to be very distant from the outside world. He wasn't present at school, outside, or on social media at all. And to be honest, it should have stayed like that, Limeo, good riddance. But sadly, that was not the case at all. I worked as a cashier in my late teenage years for some extra money. I usually stayed up working until 4 a.m., then my shift would end and I would go home. It was a random Tuesday in the middle of winter, around 2 a.m. I was watching lowly hentai on my phone, since I haven't had a single customer for the past 5 hours, when all of a sudden somebody storms into the store. At the moment, I had no idea who Tata Puius was. So it was pretty surprising to me how a 2 feet tall man built like a skeleton could storm in this fast. I was in a state of panic and shock, so I just sort of watched him mess everything up in the store. I finally got the strength to call the police, so I did. Luckily, the store I worked at was no more than 5 minutes away from the nearest police station, so police arrived just in time. They tased him and kneeled on his neck. The situation made me laugh hysterically, as it reminded me of the George Floyd incident. However, it was really unnecessary, considering even a toddler would be able to knock out Tata Puius without much effort. As the police was dragging him outside the store, he screamed with a dead voice, "I will be coming after you. Never will you able be safe again." However, at the moment, it did not scare me, as I thought he was just being corny. Only if I knew what was about to come. For the next 2 months, I sort of just brushed this event off, continuing to work as I normally did. However, on a random Thursday night, while I was going back home from my job, I noticed a very tall and skinny figure staring at me from one of the windows of a nearby apartment block. It was around 2 a.m. when all of this happened, so I just blamed it on tiredness. I finally came home and went to sleep, trying to forget what I have just seen behind that window. I instantly fell asleep, and then probably the worst and most terrifying dream of my entire life began. The following narration is from my dream. I was at work, when all of a sudden I felt a presence next to me. I get knocked off, then I wake up in a dark room, with spiders all around it. Then I sense a horrible smell, so horrible that it instantly made me puke everywhere. I started mouth breathing due to the unrealistically displeasing smell. I get up, full of fear and disgust, and I eventually bump into a door. I open the door, which revealed quite a nice kitchen. It was well lighted up and very clean. This was extremely bizarre considering the previous room I was in was dark and full of spiders. However, I have not thought much of it, considering I was still very confused about what was going on. I went into the kitchen and started looking around. I saw a huge table with a carpet over it, and then I made a horrible decision. Out of curiosity, I pushed the carpet off of the table, which revealed probably the most unreasonably disgusting thing I could ever imagine, and that is an understatement. There were multiple bowls on the table which had Tata Puius mom's food in them, ranging from horse semen soup to curry Coca-Cola to corn soup and other fecal materia-looking food. The smell was so atrocious, not even mouth breathing could help me. All of a sudden, the lights in the kitchen turned off, which gave me a mini heart attack. Then I felt a tall figure touching my shoulder. I looked back and it was Tata Puius, He looked exactly like the figure I have seen while returning from my job. The figure grabbed me with great power and pinned me with my head in the food. Obviously, you can't call whatever that was supposed to be food. However, I will refer to it as food for the sake of the story. And then the figure forced me to eat the food. It was probably the most disgusting thing that was ever done on this planet. The corn soup was gooey and felt like drinking rotten slime with shit in it. It was even worse considering I constantly swallow my coming vomit to avoid making it worse. As expected, I ended up choking, and as I was about to pass away, I woke up. I felt out of power and energy. There was vomit all over my bed, and I was extremely sweaty. After an hour of contemplating what just took place, I decided to finally get up and go change and try to move on. However, as I entered the neighboring room, I saw the exact plates of food that were present in my dream. And that was the last thing I remember before hopelessly passing out of shock. Next thing I know, I woke up in a mental hospital. Fortunately, I was released shortly after. For privacy reasons, I won't be able to provide details on the state I was in and what made me get taken to the mental hospital. Ever since, I was never truly the same. I kept living in fear due to the horrifying events I went through. And indeed, I am still living in great fear. This was my testimony left for the world, so that many may be careful with who they mock. Tata Puius is still free, roaming around taking pictures of women in their underwear in the bus, and he will surely do what he did to me to others.